This is Real Disciples Podcast 9.
Oh, yes.
And I'm here with Kenny and Kyle, and a very special podcast because these two gentlemen, let's put it that way. Let's start as we mean to go on. These two gentlemen are the first men to get saved under the ministry. Obviously, I took over the church. There was 8 people, 3 men in the church, but these were the first guys that came in and got saved under when I came here. I think I met Kenny probably a couple of weeks after being here as the pastor. I think my second outreach.
That's
if
crazy.
it wasn't my first, it was my second outreach. And so, yeah, and so this is very exciting, 10 years on. And so let's just start with you, Kenny. When did I meet you? When did I, I mean, it must have been, it was 2007.
Yeah.
And
2007.
so, just tell us how I met you. What happened there?
I was working in Arden and Hobbs in Clapham Junction, which is now Debenhams, I believe. And I was on my lunch break, I think, and I was standing outside with my friend, just outside the Foot Locker, which is a JD Sports now, just on a lunch break. And I think, me and my friend was walking around, and I remember seeing you. I can't remember. I think some other people down outreach, maybe Roger or Sister Fran. I can't remember.
Yeah, it would have been
a very small amount. But if
I
I remember,
four or five of us.
Yeah, but I think in my view, I think I remember there was a few people scattered around, not a lot of people. But I can't remember like the initial well, I'm gonna speak to you, but I just remember having the conversation with you that day. Yeah.
Okay, and so I invited you to church.
Yeah.
I remember when I was talking to you. I always say this to people. I remember talking to you, and every couple of minutes, someone was stopping him. All right, blood. Yeah, what's going on? Blood? Yeah, what's going on? Blood? Yeah, what's going on? Blood? Yeah. Every couple of seconds, and in my head, this guy knows so many people. This would be a good guy to bring into the church. And so I remember praying. I said, God, save this guy, man. And as I was praying, you know, this sounds crazy. No, well, it's not. We believe in God speaking, so it don't sound crazy. So I remember saying to you, bro, you're about to get involved in something that's very serious, and your life is going to go in one or two directions. Either it's going to go really bad,
I remember,
or it's going to go really good. When I said that, what did you feel?
It was funny, right? Because I think we was talking for a bit, and then when you said that, it kind of threw me off, because obviously I was going through something at that time that was literally what you were saying. It couldn't have been, it wasn't like a vague or vast statement. It was like something that hit the nail on the head for me, and I was like, nah, this seems like juju, you know. This guy's casting a spell on me on the road.
No juju, man. That's your, anyway.
No, but I was like, do you know what? No, that's crazy. And I think, you know, because stereotypically Africans, the households is a very Christian. You come from a Christian background, but you know, looking back, I would definitely say I was not a Christian at all.
Yeah.
But I had respect for God and everything that was God. But so I stopped, I spoke to you, and you know, I was listening, I was engaging, and I thought I was like a good person. That's what I used to always go by. But out of everything that was said before, when you said that, that's what hit home with me. Yeah,
that's what it looked like, because when I was talking to you, it was like, yeah. He's just here. In a minute, he's gonna go. And when I said that, your eyes went big.
Yeah, I remember.
And you actually said, "Take my number."
Yeah.
You went, "Take my number."
That's mad. It's crazy.
Take my number.
Yeah.
At that point, you went, "Take my number."
Yeah.
Call me. And then obviously that's how the relationship begun.
Yeah.
And so, and then you came to.
I came to the revival
with Jamil,
with Pastor Jamil,
at Shaftesbury.
Yeah,
the Shaftesbury Centre.
I brought one of my friends, but actually that day. But I remember as well. He gave me a word that day as well. I remember, and it was kind of empty, but it was just weird, because again, anything that I had known, I can't remember what day it was on. It might have been the last day of revival, the second day of revival, and
it was the last day.
It was the last day, right?
Because that would have been about at least maybe 1 or 2, 3 months after we met.
Yeah.
Because I remember I'd call you like once a week.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, "Not this week."
Yeah.
No, call me next week.
Yeah.
No, not this week. And then one time you even said, "Look, meet me at Asda's," and I was at Asda's for about an hour.
Do you know what actually happened? Let me clear that up first of all. No, let me clear that up. What happened? You called me, right?
Yeah.
I think the clocks had gone back.
Okay.
So the time I went there to meet you,
yeah,
I was standing there. So when you phoned me, I thought, no, this guy's a joker. He didn't phone me.
calm.
I kid you not. I remember where I was.
Yeah.
I was in internet cafe.
Yeah.
After, so bummy it was. I was in the internet cafe, and I was like,
Old school.
it's old
Yeah.
school. And I was like, oh, he's phoning me now. I said, nah, I ain't going, man.
Yeah. I remember I called you, and then a few days later you picked up.
Yeah.
So it was going backward and forward like
Yeah,
this.
for ages.
And I remember, this is another crazy story. I was with Jamil, and we were out in the daytime,
Yeah.
chilling out. And Jamil was telling me about this guy in his church called, I think it was Pierre or something like that. It's got a French kind of name.
Yeah.
We all knew him. He was going Brixton, and so
Jean-Marc.
that's it.
Jean-Marc.
Yeah, I think this
Oh,
is the
yeah,
guy.
Jean-Marc,
Yeah,
yeah.
Jean-Marc.
it's not the guy.
Or Pascal.
Pascal. The guy's not there now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Jamil was telling me, I was trying to get this guy Pascal, been praying for him,
Yeah.
and I met him on the street, and it took ages, and then I got him into church. He came to church and got saved. And I was like, that's like this guy that I know, man. I got this guy called Kenny and all of that, and he said, don't give up on him. And I was like, all right, I'll text him one more time, or I tried to call you one more time, and you picked up, and I said, tonight is the last night of revival.
Yeah.
Do you want to come tonight?
Crazy.
Mad.
And he came.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jamil, that's the guy that I was telling you about, that I've been trying to get to church for like 3 months.
That's mad.
And he comes, he brings his friend,
Yeah.
and then we didn't see him for another 2 years. No, I'm
Not
only
2
joking.
years.
And so, okay, so we'll talk more about how you know. So I mean, basically, you came, and I think you prayed.
Yeah.
You prayed,
I
you know,
prayed,
you
yeah.
prayed, and so you came, and so you basically come, and the church was only like a few people.
Literally a handful.
And so we're gonna fast forward, and then we'll come back to like what you guys thought about the church.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah,
it
of
was
course.
only a few people. But then you said, would you talk to my friend, which was Kyle? So what was going on before I spoke to Kyle? So you've come to church now. You're coming on and off.
Yeah.
We've met. You've got saved. What's going on between you guys? What are you speaking about?
Like, well, obviously before church, like we've got quite a small friendship group, but Carl was like, we would be together every single day. So when I started going, like I don't think I hid it. I'll just be like, oh, I'm going church, I'm going church. And then one day I used to be like, bro, come man, you just got to come to church. I didn't know much, but I was just like, bro, you got to come, or you got to meet my pastor. And he was like, I don't want to meet your pastor, man. What's that? He's like, I think you come to pick me up when I was with Carl one time, and I think he was driving either the 1 Series at the time.
Black 1
The
Series.
Black 1 Series. And he was like, what kind of drug dealing pastor do you have that's got a 1 Series?
No, look, this is what it was. So basically, Kenny had always gone to church. Like Kenny used to go to this Methodist church. So, because I never knew what like a pastor or anything was, cause the pastor, look, it's not a racial thing, but the pastor was a white man. I always
True
remember
story,
this.
yeah.
So Kenny used to have like these barbecues and all these people that kind of like sing Kumbaya. So that's what I thought he was talking about for long. But he kept talking about like this pastor. I'm like, who's this pastor, brother? Yeah, because you know my pastor, like, he's like a businessman. I'm like, bruv, like, what car's he got? And he said he's got one. I said, bruv, the guy just used to move food, and now he's trying to act like he's reformed his life. Like, I've heard it all before, bruv. Like, it's long. And so I never really had a religious grounding. You know what I'm saying? So my family just kind of, my grand's a Catholic. No one's ever really gone church. We tried Jehovah Witness for a bit. And so religion for me was just really nothing. I never believed in like the alien thing, but I never really believed in religion. So it was kind of like, I was just living. But Kenny had always gone church. The thing is it was always like banter to wind up Kenny about the fact that he's a church boy. And so Kenny kind of confided in me that he'd started going a bit more seriously. And so what had happened was he was going a lot. And I was like, why do you keep going to this church, bro? Like, and you keep talking about this guy. I was like, what is this? I said, I want to come with you. And then
What was you thinking?
I
Like,
don't understand that. You keep
just
talking
didn't- you
about
just
this
didn't
guy.
understand it.
And because obviously, it's really what, looking back on it, what it was is, you was obviously like a mentor, like figure to
Yeah,
him.
definitely.
And so he was very influential. And so he would constantly refer to you with regards to like advice, innit? Because, you know, on the ends, our advice is each other. So we're just all chatting rubbish to each other. Yeah, blah, da, da, and it's that. And so obviously it's someone who's giving him an understanding of where he's from, but giving him advice, wisdom. Do you understand? It's not foolishness. And so one day I just said, I'm going to come, man. And then Obviously, I just said it. It's like a throwaway comment. No, actually, I remember what it was. Kenny said to me he's getting baptized. I can even remember where he was walking. It's the top of this road. And he went, I'm getting baptized this week.
The one that you never turned up to.
Yeah, and I just remember saying this. Sorry, man, forgive me.
It's cool.
And I just remember saying, I don't know nothing about baptism, but I remember saying, blood, if you're gonna do this, you better take this serious. And then like
Use discipling before you even came to church.
But I just remember saying it. And then obviously, so I'm acting all serious and supportive. And then once he got baptized, we started nicknaming him John.
John the Baptist.
John the Baptist. So when we got baptized, I was like, yeah, you know, Kenny got baptized.
It was hard, you know, Pastor. It was hard. I was fighting them battles in the background, you know.
So he was winding him up, calling him John. Anyway, so what happened? And so what happened was then when I said to him, I'm going to come, he would constantly call me, say, come church, come church, for long. It must have been months.
It was months, definitely.
Every Sunday, and I'd be like, bruv, nah, next week. I kept saying it. And then one day he's like, do you want to meet my pastor? And
that's what it
to
was,
this day, I still don't know why I met you. I'll never forget this. I was at my cousin's house over there in Stanley. And I remember like, I thought he's not going to meet me. And he called me and he's like, I'm downstairs. I was like to my cousin, brother, go meet this pastor guy. It's long. I'll never forget it. And then I come and I see you. And then
where Anthony used to live.
Yeah, where my cousin Anthony lived.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think you had the A3 at the time now, the grey one. And I was like, all right. And I didn't expect it. I thought he was a black man by this time. And so when I saw you, I was like, raw, mixed race brother. I was like, I don't know. I don't know why that's relevant.
It's different though, isn't it?
It's just not what I expected.
Yeah.
And then obviously I spoke to you and you was cool. We went McDonald's, if you remember.
Yeah, Wandsworth Road.
And I always remember, like I said, like, you know, it's a typical question. Now I'm looking back on it, it's a typical question of a young, fearful man. I remember saying to you, because I was thinking, this guy understands, what would you do if someone tried it on you? Like, remember I asked you that? And I was like, my whole thing was like, I can't do the Christian thing because it's soft.
Yeah.
And you was like, it wasn't even a consideration because that comes from fear. And then I remember you said, you know, you dropped us back on Surrey Lane. And you was like, you know, you should come church on Sunday. And I went, nah, I ain't got no church clothes. I'll come next week. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And then the next week I come and it was the Evangelist Yao. And it was the 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this because that sermon, it's like, it was so accurate. And basically I remember he preached a sermon laying down excuses. And his whole illustration was about someone who said they would come to church. And I remember he was specifically saying that every week they'd reach out to the guy and the guy would be like, next week. And then the 1 week he was supposed to come, he think he got run over or something and he died.
Yeah.
Oh my days.
And I remember, I was like, I'll never forget this. And obviously there was more things in the sermon that spoke to me. I'll never forget. And I remember the end of church, you had chicken, which is always a big sell for me at the time. I was a big meat eater them days. Now I'm more pescatarian. But I'll never forget that. And then I'll never forget, we walked down St. John's Hill at the end. And I was like, blood, like it was mad. And then he said that. And then he said that.
Key points.
And then he said that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe all the things that were so accurate and relevant to me. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to come back. And then it's funny because I think I'd been to like 3 services before I'd even heard you preach before, because Kudzi, if you remember, then picked me up and he took me to a revival in Rotherhithe. And Pastor Carnegie was preaching a sermon about godly fear, righteous fear, and he spoke about phobia and fubo. So I always remember it. And the illustration was about this guy that tried to play out Daniel and jumped in the cave with the lions in real life, basically, or in current life, and he got eaten. But he was speaking about how people have lost their fear of God and different types of fear. So like a righteous fear.
So that would have been, so you got saved you came to church on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And that would have been in the week.
It was either that week or the week after. I'm sure it was that week. Because I remember going to church again. The guy was like, can I meet you? And it was like, it was a Monday. So it's probably the next day.
Okay.
And then I went to church with him. Because it would have been because conference was the month after. So I would have come church in the September.
Yeah.
And then, I went to church the next day again.
So that would have been, so we would have met about September.
Yeah, the end of the year.
We would have met about September, November 2007.
Yeah.
And this would have been a year later.
Yeah, because it's a 1 year anniversary specifically.
Yeah, because that year you was coming on and off for ages, like, and so he's he's talking to you, and bit by bit by bit by bit, he's telling you, you're noticing this guy's talking about church. He's taking it serious. He's got baptized, and then you come, and I remember when Kyle came, you started to come regular.
Yeah.
You both started to come regular because it was almost like
It was a push, yeah.
it was almost like you got energy from him.
Yeah.
Him coming, and you was both coming regular, and you was both coming regular and like that. So now you come into this church, which is, I mean, still by then we were still the core.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anybody. There was a few people.
One guy Kudzi was working with that I thought was his brother.
Yeah.
Some guy Son Carly.
Son Carly, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I remember that because I thought they were brothers.
Yeah.
His brother was
There was them
coming
two at the
time,
front, and there was the kids.
Yeah.
That's
And then
it.
there was Everton, there was Felicia, there was
Sister
Gwen,
Julie.
Sister Julie,
Yeah.
your wife, Portia, Caroline,
Yeah.
Roger,
Okay.
and Owen.
Okay.
General Owen.
And so you come into church, and so from your perspective, Kenny, you've come in a year before that.
Yeah.
When I finally get you there, I mean, there's only like a handful of people. What are you thinking?
When I first came,
Yeah.
it wasn't. Actually, I was thinking of something else, but really and truly, at first, the setup was weird to me. Again, because of, the family church that I had come from, it was completely different. Do you know what I mean? So from a Methodist church, like we said, we had like a white priest. Everything was, we read from the Bible. It was very structured and regimented. But I come here, Owen was the praise and worship leader. We got this mad drum machine every week. And I'll be honest, I was like, my mind was like, Owen's the pastor and someone's trying to take over this, that, and the third. It just looked so weird to me. It was a weird, different setup. But when you hear the word, that's what kind of just kept me going. At that time, I didn't really so much see them as sermons. It was more like a motivational thing, if I'm going to be completely honest. I went and you'd hear things that you could relate to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was little convictions that was being built, but I looked around and I just thought, I go to my old church and there was people that was way older than the people that was here. I just didn't really engage with much people apart from yourself and Owen, really, to a big degree. But I acknowledged them, and I think that was just enough for me at that point.
Okay. And so from yourself, Carl, when you finally came, what did you think when you saw that there was only like 8 people, 9 people?
The thing for me, I have no mental reference of what a church should or shouldn't be like.
Okay.
So there was no sort of sense of, the building's nice obviously because it was in the Methodist building, so it's just a neat building. But I'd been into, through the youth club I went to, they had like an old Methodist style church building. So it was very similar to that.
Okay.
But I never was like the church. I just remember it wasn't that like, they do that singing on like songs of praise.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't like that. And I was like, thank God for that.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, bruv, man, we got to stand for this singing bit. Because I'm like a bit conscious. I think everyone's looking at me like, who's this random guy in the church? That was probably the hardest bit, standing during praise and worship. And then when everyone's praying, I'm like, what do you do? Like, you feel conscious. Do you get what I'm saying? But actually, from a perspective of the church, there's no mental reference. There's no it should be or shouldn't be like this.
Okay. So it wasn't like, oh, this is small.
Nah, no sense of that at all.
You didn't look at that at all.
I literally, it was like when the guy spoke the first time, I said, I'm gonna go back. I remember specifically saying, I will go back until that stops happening, until the message no longer says anything to me.
So you actually thought that?
Yeah,
yourself.
it was like that thing was very relevant, and I was like, if I'm gonna come back and see if it was like a one-off.
So again, both of you really, it's preaching that kept you coming.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
It's the preaching, and
1,000,000%.
it's so important in a pioneering setting.
Yeah.
That even though you might not have, you might not be able to, have all of the, amazing lightning and wells and whistles of a big praise and worship and a mega church, but you can preach the word.
Yeah.
And then God can translate that word so that people can be like, my days, that spoke to me. That's for
true.
me. I don't want to miss that. When church starts to feel like that, I don't want to miss.
And that was what it was. It's funny now, like you just said, thinking about it with my understanding now, it's obviously anointing that was on the preaching.
I agree still.
Because the words were so relevant week to week. They were so relevant. Like every word was like right on the button.
So now you're coming to church.
Yeah.
What are you saying to your friends? What do your friends think now? Because how old are you guys? 18?
19, just
18,
turned. You would have been 18.
18 when you came.
2007. So I'd just turned 19. So basically I would have
When he first
finished
started,
college
yeah.
2 months before. That's for those who do the third year. I finished college. I finished college 2 months
form, sixth
before.
form.
So basically I was supposed to go uni. I'd applied for Portsmouth
Yeah, we all did.
and I got in because I had good UCAS points. But I remember saying to my mum, I don't want to go uni because I didn't want to incur the student debt.
Okay.
So for me, that was my gap year.
Okay.
And it's funny now because, again,
Imagine.
gap year meant freedom year,
Okay.
meaning I'm going to sow my royal oats now.
Yeah.
Just do my thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
be
go
a
crazy.
young man, be free.
Yeah.
And so what had happened was a year before, so 2007, my older brother had gone to prison. And so it's funny because my plan was to finish college and then go and do what he was doing. My brother used to basically sell drugs. And so I was like, I used to beg him to let me sell drugs with him. And he was like, nah, like, he's a good guy in that way. Like he's not trying to influence me for the worst. Do you see what I'm saying? He's like, no, you're not doing it. Do your college, whatever. And I would beg him. And I remember like sleeping in my mum's house and the police banging down my door. And it's funny because I was sleeping there and look, this is going to make me sound way badder than I am, which I wasn't. I was a football guy. But I remember I had a knife and I had this replica gun in my room and it was hidden under a towel. And I remember the police banging down my door. And so they wanted to, because I was in his room because he had left, and they wanted to search the house. But my mum's in hysterics. And so there's this towel on the bed. That's the towel because I didn't want my mum to see it. And so the stuff was under the towel, which is ridiculous. But my mum didn't used to touch my stuff. And I remember kind of thinking, blood, that's mad. It was close because they're going to raid the room. And I swear, I remember they went in this cupboard and there was like old socks in there. And they were just like, nah, this is long. I feel like that's what the guy said. But looking back again, it's obviously the grace. And that was the year before. So my plan was basically, so in the lead up to coming to church, I'd been visiting my brother, trying to organize how I would move out of London and basically do what he was doing. And he wouldn't allow it.
Okay.
That was it. And so I was in that phase. I was starting to try, because, you know, after I gave up on the dream of trying to play football, sounds like it's so cliche, but it was literally like, bruv, like, because for years, we had to suffer the banter of, you know, man would be like, oh, you're the football guy trying to live the dream. And you got friends making money. So it's funny because even like...
You mean because you're like trying to play football and you're
Yeah.
going to be a professional footballer.
my goal. It's
But
my
other
dream.
guys would be selling, doing illegal stuff, basically.
Once you get to about year 9, so that's about 14, that's when man start making money.
Okay.
So it could be weed, it could be harder food, but that's when man start making money. So around that phase is when it's like, it's the transition, I would call it. So about that time is when the schools start to kick people out if you're being naughty. They give you grace when you're younger. So that's when man start going centre or man are out there. And so what happens is it's like, everyone starts to choose where they're going, if you see what I mean. We're all attached to the same thing. And it's kind of like who gets involved at the earliest phase and who's in it more deeply, if you see what I'm saying. And so we come from a close-knit area. So even if you're not officially a part of, let's say, a gang or a crew, whatever you want to call it, we're all close friends.
Everybody knows
Yeah,
everybody.
so some will rep, like, this is my team, and some are just friends, but we're all affiliated. And so you got to suffer, like, the banter. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's a reverse, it's weird. And now looking back again, I realize how stupid it is, but you almost, like, it would be banter to be considered good. I'll be like, shut up, you're a good
You're a
you.
good you.
And that's like a bad thing.
It's an insult.
That's
to
an insult.
be good.
A man's not a good you. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's what we come up with. So at that phase now, it wasn't even about being a bad you, but for me, it was about making money.
Yeah.
And so I started to get involved in things as I came to church. And it was funny because as I started to get involved, that's when I started to attend the church. It was weird. It's like the same time. And it's almost like God came in at the right time. Which I didn't realize.
So this is the question. So what was your friends saying at this point? What were they saying to you?
Well, we was going to church, I think, and now the jokes have gone from me to me and Carl.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I remember this. So if you remember...
Sorry to
That's
cut
all
you.
right.
So say like a few weeks before this,
Yeah.
So it'd be Kyle, I don't know, whatever. These guys
Yeah.
mocking you.
Yeah.
You're John the
Yeah.
Baptist now. And now he's
Yeah.
come back. Have you like got, have you gone back like, no. How did you make that transition?
this is the
John and
thing.
Paul now, isn't it?
I'm very stubborn. I'm very stubborn. Which is,
Peter and Paul.
I'm very stubborn, and it's helpful in certain ways. It's negative in many ways, but helpful in many. And so if you remember, Manchester had come down to do the concert. Do you remember this? And so they done a concert in York Gardens.
Yes, I do
I
remember.
wasn't saved. I was coming church.
Okay.
I'll never forget this because I came and the man them were laughing at me because I was at the front, but I had my head in my hands. I wasn't even praying. They were like, look, he's praying. And I was like, shut up. You're all fake Muslims anyway. Because at the time, a lot of people had come to
He was a
Islam.
Muslim. Yeah, it's the Israel.
And so basically how it worked is everyone, basically the religious view at the time, or the predominant religious view where you could be proud, was Islam.
Yeah.
Because of prison and
We
everything.
didn't know no one going to church.
Yeah, no one.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it was like, man could still be road and be Muslim,
Yeah.
but no one weren't going to church. So I'll never forget. And if you remember at the end of that concert, there was a big debate where one of my
Outside.
brethren said to Kudzi, what's wrong with this Don? Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was the day. And so that was like the beginning of when now I'm on record, but I'm just attending church. So I could kind of like take away, I'm like, I'm not really invoiced. That's Kenny. Kenny takes it serious. I'm just
Okay.
going at the time. So there was no real,
He was fake.
there was no real like,
Fake.
but I wasn't born again.
Yeah, you're still trying to get out.
Yeah, he's fake.
Yeah. So okay, so at this point, Kenny's taking it seriously, but you're coming. You're like, no, come on, let's be reasonable.
So when the debate was happening, I remember being like, nah, but it was funny because I was obviously shifting.
So that was the point when you was basically going on record.
Because I was on the Christian side. So
Yeah.
I was standing with Kudzi. So he's
Yeah.
debating with them. There was
Yeah.
about 10, 15
Yeah,
man
yeah,
there.
outside
Yeah,
and
York
he's
Gardens.
debating with them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, they're going back at him with the Islam thing. And I'm like, no. Da-da-da-da-da. And it was weird because I remember
yeah.
I used to have debates all the time. And then I had family members that were Jehovah's Witness. So it was weird because I was starting to believe this thing, but I wasn't living it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would definitely, this would have been like 6 to 8 weeks in now. And I'm like, I definitely believe this, but I wasn't living it. So I wouldn't be preaching it.
Yeah.
I would argue like to defend it,
Yeah.
but I wasn't living it. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So I couldn't preach it.
You hadn't accepted Christ
No,
yet
I
as
was
your
not
Lord
born
and
again,
Savior.
no.
So you wasn't born again. So this shows you that you can be coming to church and mentally agreeing with what the Bible says,
Yeah.
but you haven't yet been converted.
Yes,
there's-
100%.
There's no change.
You haven't yet,
Yeah.
and that's things that people have to look at. Is that, are you just coming to church and mentally agreeing with us, or have you had that experience where you can say, no, I remember when I gave my life to Jesus.
Like 1,000,000%.
So that happened for you in church. That happened for you when?
Me.
Yeah, when you
So-
gave your life to Jesus.
So I can tell you this clearly. I prayed a prayer and I wasn't saved.
But I
So-
still believe the same as well about myself when I first started coming too.
But it's
It's the same.
definitive. For
Yeah.
me, it's very definitive. I can remember it like yesterday because basically Mark and Owen, God rest his soul, were talking to me in a hotel room. And it was just like, I was in a hotel
That's
room.
in
with-
conference
time, yeah, we was
On
at
a
conference.
Wednesday night, I just heard a powerful sermon. There's 5 men saying, bro, you should be born again. And I'm like, I've been coming to church for ages now. Like, it's been like 2 months of Owen creeping up to me every altar call, asking me if I want to get saved. Every altar call, bro, do you want to pray? I'm like, bro, no, not this week. Do you want to pray? And you got to a point, I'm like, bro, this guy, like, keeps coming up to me, innit? Like, just allow me, innit? So this night, they're chatting to me, and Mark's a younger guy, so he's kind of like, bro, you know. And I remember Kenny was there, and I was just, like, smiling. I thought Kenny was laughing with me. I was like, and I remember thinking, he's taking this way too serious.
Pressure,
Kenny's
man.
head's all down and that.
Kenny, yeah?
Yeah, he was taking it serious.
Yeah,
I'm
come
like,
on.
alright, like, let
Put
me
your
pray.
head
But
down, man.
I wasn't saved. I definitely wasn't saved. The conference, like, it got me from a perspective of, like, I got caught up in it, and the conference was powerful, but I wasn't saved. So what happened was, if you remember, Kenny, the roller disco had kicked off around that time. So that was our Sunday night motive. We used to go to church and then go roller disco in the evening. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Evens.
I'll never forget this. And so, I'll never forget this. I remember being at prayer meeting, a man's phoning me like, brother, have you got anything? And I'm like, yeah, I'll call you after. I'm just at church. Like, weird stuff like that. Do you see? I remember just weird things. And what happened was, so,
So basically, you're at prayer meeting and people are calling you to get dodgy stuff.
because I used to basically, my logic was, as long as I'm there with them, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Okay.
Because where I'm safe, meaning where I'm not doing anything, was when I'm around the church people.
Yeah.
So I would come to every event.
Yeah.
But as soon as you were gone, I had nothing. I was like, oh, back to the world I go. So I used to come church at every event. If you remember, I didn't miss anything. I wasn't working. Anytime you called me, I'd come and see you. Anytime Owen was available, I'd go there because I was like, every time I spend away from my friends or with the church people, I would do church things. I wouldn't swear. I wouldn't listen to my music. I was just doing what the church done. And to me, I was like, I need to try and be on my best behavior.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny even from that, because even like going off what Kyle's saying about his transition, even for me, like I prayed, I believed, but for me, I got into such a heavy mode of just being religious. So, you know, you can do everything like and be regimented on, okay, I do this, I go to church, I believe, like I did, I genuinely believed, but you know, like in my heart, like the conversion really hadn't happened yet, because I had come from a place where there's no accountability. You just do what you want and then leave. I still remember my first rebuke. Remember when we was together, me, you and John?
Yeah, but before that, if you remember, this is what happened. This is the lead up. So remember, tell me if you remember this. Yeah? No. Tell me if you remember. So basically, we're living just like how I've described. I'll never, like this is so vivid. Yeah? This is so clear. Because we used to have midweek service on a Thursday. Remember? I went bed Wednesday, living exactly how I'd been living. The Thursday, I woke up, and the easiest way to describe it is I felt like I was gonna die that day if I didn't make a decision. Like it was, I don't know what happened. It was just the weirdest. I woke up and it just changed. No one can ever argue with me about salvation because this moment was there was no one there. I'd heard many sermons. I was alone. Sorry, I'm shy, but no. I'll never forget this.
No, but what that is that your eyes have been opened to sin.
Yeah.
Whereas, say like a man is stealing, or a man is fornicating, or a man is, or people are dealing drugs. Say like you're doing that. In your head, before you come to church, you're justifying it. You don't feel that bad. You know certain things are wrong. But when you come into the presence of God and you get a revelation of God, your eyes are open and you realize, no, this thing is bad. That's what I felt. This is, oh my days. I am going to be rightfully judged for this. I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I can't argue it.
And what you just said, it's like someone had seen me. Do you understand? It was like, all of a sudden, someone was like, no, fix it. And I'll never forget, I called Kenny. I said, Kenny, I can't live like that no more. Kenny, I can't do it. Kenny, we got to stop. I'll never forget. And so I text you. And I said, Pastor, pray for me. I'm not saved. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And so when you called me, I was like, I'm going to just tell him this. And it was like, I had to tell you everything. The plan was to tell you 20%. I spewed it all out.
It's my anointing, man.
I had to tell you everything. I'll never forget it. Like, I can't explain because I can remember all the moments. That was on my mum's settee. I used to like sleeping on there.
So that was a revelation for me, because being a pastor, new pastor, I've only been a pastor a year.
Yeah.
I see these two guys come church. You've come conference. I saw you lifting your hands, worshiping in conference, singing the songs. I'm like, yeah, it's done deal now. Okay, that's sorted. Yeah. Let's move on to the next slot. Yeah. And then Kyle calls me up and is like, Pastor, I haven't changed. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. I do that twice a day. I do this. And I'm like, huh? Yeah. What? And that's when you said, I think, because he basically said something.
He took me in the room.
I remember.
No,
he said, go get Kenny.
You basically grassed everyone up.
Basically.
Well, I didn't snitch.
No, not snitch.
Yeah. I'll never forget what happened.
I keep trying to reword it now.
Basically,
what happened there? How did I find out then?
You took Kenny in the room.
Yeah.
And you said,
you asked the question.
You actually said, he hasn't said anything. You actually said it.
Yeah.
But you said, usually when one's doing it, the other is as well.
And then I was like,
and he was like,
yeah.
That's how, is that how it was?
Yeah, I remember it.
You see the wisdom on me, man. That was wisdom.
But,
so
I tell you what's so mad. You see, after that though, you see when we left there, do you remember the conversation we had afterwards? We were standing and we had like a serious conversation about like
make a good joke,
we need to.
Do you remember this
go.
one? Do you remember this one? So basically,
this guy loves it, innit?
This is funny. So basically, I was like, Kenny, we can't go roller disco no more. Kenny, we can't go no more. We can't. Kenny's like, yeah, it's true, 100%. Sunday, we come church, and then the evening comes, Like, Kenny, the next day I was like, where did you go? He's like, no, I wasn't even there for long, you know.
It lasted. The conviction lasted 3 days.
He loved that place. He loved it more than me.
I think, again, as well, this is what it was, right? And the importance of Kyle coming at the time, right? So like I was saying, I had built up such a religious like format to myself, yeah, especially from where I come from. So I believed, right? And I definitely made a decision based on where I was at before, prior to coming to Potter's house.
Yeah.
But again, super on it. And then, you know, when Carl came and then he started to get on it, it challenged me. But in doing that, I didn't let go of a lot of things. So I was, at that time, like, obviously I just kind of started the business or whatever. So I was around a lot of people and I knew a lot of people. So I get people phoning me every time to go places. So like, for instance, right, these guys wouldn't leave where the ends, like properly like that. But at that time, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going here with this person. I'm going here with that person, going here with that person. And I just found it hard. Like, just like, no, but this is just fun. And then I come, and then at one point I was just like, what's the point? I just kind of, like, in my mind, I'd kind of given up. Like, there's no point just fighting. It's just kind of whatever. I've got kind of like a reserved personality. Do you get what I'm saying? As you can tell, like, Carl's quite flary. He's like,
extremist.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm kind of like, simple life. Do you know? I just can't be asked. Do you know what I mean?
You're more balanced than me. I have no middle ground.
Yeah.
It's what I'm always working towards. So for me, when that happened, if you remember, I said, Pastor, I still got a bit of stuff left over. I got to pay someone and sell. And you're like, I can't tell you to sell that thing. And then I went home and I threw it in the bin. And then I owed money. And if you remember, I was getting calls all the time, blood, I need my money. And I was stressing out because obviously I didn't work. And so that was going on for a while. But I just knew. And so for me, again, even more now, more extreme than before, I came to everything. Because I was like, I need to be there. Because I used to think, like, this is how extreme it was. I used to be like, if I don't go to church this week, I might not make it. Them days, I wasn't reading my Bible faithfully. I was getting by on sermons.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, it's like, if I don't get to church every week, I might not make it. You know, it's hard. Come on.
So yeah, I remember after that moment,
Yeah.
I think really and truly you guys would be at everything.
Yeah.
After that moment,
definitely.
you guys would be
turning point.
everything. I mean, I think there was one time somebody went to a photo shoot somewhere and took half of the...
Yeah, that was Tuesday of Revival.
Kenny just took half of my church.
I was fuming that day. I was like, Kenny.
Stop acting like you're an angel, bro. Come on, man. Allow it. You wasn't like that.
I was angry though, but I was like, what's
You was
wrong with
angry.
this guy?
Angry for what?
It was my church.
He's a fraud. You know, this is
I was the one who snitched. I did snitch that time.
I know.
Yeah. So, well, by then I'd kind of said, "There's no snitching in the kingdom."
Yeah, he was preaching that
was,
hard.
that was constant.
That got to me
So
that time.
you know, you think about those early sermons.
Yeah,
where it'd be
yeah.
like constantly talking about not fornicating.
Lasciviousness.
That was a
Lasciviousness was the
serious
best
one.
one because
For
that's
us,
the one
that
you start
was
playing with.
that's what kept us though. You know that, right? That lascivious, because there was
Whoremonger.
no grey areas could you escape from.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Lasciviousness was like, you know, because before it was like, I'm not fornicating,
Yeah.
but there's all these other little things. And
Yeah, yeah.
lasciviousness said, well, all of those things are in that
It
category.
grouped it,
Pastor,
yeah.
look, I'm not going to say you've got older, but you've
Yeah.
mellowed in your maturity.
Well,
The sermons are very extreme back then.
wisdom has to
Some
prevail.
of them sermons, I'm like, them sermons kept us. We loved it.
Nah, trust me.
Carnality,
They were serious, yeah.
the sermon,
Carnal.
carnal.
But they're still all the key words that we used
Carnal
today.
was like,
100%.
that was like, those were, and they became like buzzwords. Like
Yeah.
carnal. It's carnal.
Yeah,
It's
carnal.
lascivious. Lascivious.
Love,
Yeah.
truth,
that as well.
was big.
Yeah.
love, truth.
That
You
was
just pull
big.
man up with those phrases
Yeah.
all the time.
That was big.
And so here you are, 19
Yeah.
year old guys, you know, but you're coming to church and you're basically digesting all of these sermons and bringing them into your vocabulary,
Yeah.
and bringing them into your culture, and letting these sermons define you and all of these things. We can't really have you guys here and not talk about Owen,
Yeah.
because Owen was a major part of
Super.
your discipleship. I remember saying to Owen, okay, I want you to work with Kenny and Carl. I
Yeah.
want you to work with these guys.
Yeah.
And so so what was your first? What can you remember about your first interaction with Owen, and what did you think?
Yeah, I think for me as well, when I first started coming, I thought, like, I knew you was the pastor, and I saw Owen, and for some strange reason, that's what I was saying earlier, that I felt like he wanted to be the pastor. So he was trying to overthrow you. It was always in my mind every week. Yeah, it's just you see these African pastors.
That's some Tyler Perry.
So but when I got
Saying
to
that
know,
though,
yeah,
when we would go on Impact Team,
everyone would
we'd get out of the van and everyone would go up to him,
yeah,
and be like, because he just carried himself.
African
Like,
guys.
He seemed a lot older than he was, and it wasn't even really a look thing. He just
You
seemed
get
older.
why he
Yeah.
carried himself,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you said. But I think, really and truly, outside of yourself, Owen was the person who also spent a lot of time with me. He only lived across the road. He got to know my family really well, my mum. So yourself and Owen, my mum would be like, I know my son's in good hands. And again, like, you two were the men in my life that was really like feeding me a lot of wisdom and giving me direction. So
what do you think it was that started to draw you to Owen? What would it be?
two things, right? Definitely, like as I started to get a bit more serious, yeah, seeing how serious he was about God, but also he had such a man's man demeanor about him, the way he structured himself, the way he spoke to you, like with dominion. But it wasn't enough to, like, it was never forceful in his corrections or anything like that when he's talking to you. It was like, I can't explain it. It's like he could perfectly like communicate with you. Do you know what I mean? And even though he's from an African background, like quite a strong African man, he also was very relatable. That's one that was kind of confusing to me, because men in my family and the African guys I know, they're just African men. But he could relate to me, especially like me being that age. I always thought, this guy don't understand what I'm going through. But he could speak to me. I wouldn't mind if I was with my friends and Owens with me. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he wasn't flashy. He didn't have all these goods and this, that, and the third. But he'd always like take time out to phone me, come check me, and this, that, and the third. Like even certain times I'll be in my house, knock on the door, it's Owen. Like why is this guy knocking on my door? But you know, it's Owen. I don't mind. Do you know what I mean? But there was just a certain way he carried himself. Do you know what I mean? That I respected, really.
What for me, there's too many things. You know, it's even now, it's hard to speak about Owen and not get like emotional.
Yeah, of course.
He's just a godly man. He's a godly man, and he's very caring, like
Super.
extremely caring, like beyond belief. Like Owen would just tap me and just give me money in my hand, like, you know. And them days, like, the money was needed. I wasn't working, and you know, it's like, it's times when you're struggling, but you know, it's like no one. He's just thinking of it.
Yeah. In his mind, yeah.
The godliness of the guy, because when we look back on it, like, he was kind of boring. Like, from a perspective, there was nothing.
He didn't do nothing much.
There's
Yeah.
nothing. He weren't into football like me. He weren't into music like me. He didn't. I used to sit in his house. There was no TV.
There's nothing.
There was no entertainment. He just opened his Bible.
And just talk to you for ages.
He just talked to me. He'd be on the phone. One time, he came to my mum's house. He's just caring. Caring and fiery. On fire, like a man of God.
He challenged.
He'd stand up.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is, the reputation of the Christians is that they're soft.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
the whole thing is that
I know what you're
when I
gonna
see
say, too.
strong men, like, and from a perspective of like, there was righteous strength. So like, if you remember when we was in Brixton, me and you, and there was 20 men around us, and you was debating with the guy, and I was like, yeah, he's not backing down. I'm standing, it's just me and you. And there's about 20 of them surrounding us. Man's like, just not backing down. I'm like, yeah, why do we need to back down from any of these people? I remember one time, like, Owen taking us. We're at a line. It's Halloween. And there's a line outside the club.
Yeah.
All these, like, posh middle class people.
I remember.
And Owen's preaching at the line. He's like, preach, brother. I'm like, come on, Owen.
Come on,
He's like,
he's
preach.
not doing this
Owen,
right now.
please, bro, please. But he just preach.
He's the one who
One
got us
time we're
to
on Oak
preach
Hill
first.
Road, he's just preaching. Every bus, they kicked us off like 4 buses.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy, one time he's in Vauxhall bus garage, late at night. You know, it's mad illuminated.
Yeah. Just start
My
going.
man just started preaching. I'm like, bro.
Do you remember how he would
this
get going
guy-
on the buses? On the buses,
Bro,
he'll
I'm
have a
like,
loud
this
conversation with
guy,
you. Do you
This
remember?
guy, he showed me.
Yeah, of course.
He showed me the fire. You see what I'm saying? He had the fire and the care. He's like a proper big brother.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Proper uncle, slash Big Brother. Like,
So let's look at this, because here is this guy that we could say that he definitely was discipling you. But he
100.
wasn't trendy.
No.
Like, had no trendiness to him. I mean, like, love the guy, but
Yeah,
there's
but he
no
wasn't trendy.
trendiness
Yeah,
to
of
him.
course.
He's not from your culture.
No.
He talked with an African accent.
Yeah.
He had no London slang,
Nothing.
like that. And so, and here he is, and he didn't try to be like you,
No.
like fake it, blood, no, man's on the end. He didn't try to do none of that.
Yeah.
And so, but here he is, because he is a man, a real man, a man of righteousness. Other men are attracted to him.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where so many times in the church people feel that, oh, I've got to start acting like them,
Yeah.
or dressing like them,
Yeah,
or
it's true.
become more like the world to be attractive, or give people popcorn to try and get people discipled. But here is this guy, really and truly, he loved God and he loved people.
Yeah.
And
Super.
and that's it.
super.
And
That's his
because he
foundation.
loved God, he was righteous, and because he loved people, he cared for you.
Yeah.
He genuinely cared for you. I mean, I thought about it the other day that I say to Owen, okay, I'm going to put you up at conference. So we're gonna put him up get him a hotel room at conference, and then I think you say you want to stay up there. Did you stay up there, or did only Carl stay?
Nah, I stayed up.
You
What-
stayed up
Three of us
there.
in there.
Yeah, there was 3 of us.
Yeah,
Three of us in
and
there.
so and you came to one of them and then stayed.
Yeah.
You decided
No,
to
and
stay.
John as well.
Now I think.
And John, that was the next one.
No,
Yeah,
no,
okay,
so
yeah,
you
it was
think
us
about
three.
it now. He could have been like, no, you're not staying in the room with me.
Yeah, he was-
Allow that, man. I don't want to. But it's inconvenience.
We're swearing.
we're loud
One
and-
time me and Kenny are arguing.
I remember he had to call me in the room.
Yeah, where
remember
we
I had to
we
come
was
in the
swearing
room
in that
Yeah,
room.
swearing.
It's mad.
and say, "Why are you swearing?" Like, he was wiling out
I was getting vexed.
in the room.
Because me and Kenny hit each other, and it was funny. I remember he hit me harder, and I couldn't get him back. I was vexed. I was swearing. Owen's like,
He's like, bro, man.
Yeah, and so you think about it now. You've come to conference, you want to be revived, and you're with these new converts that are joking and swearing and shouting,
bro, it's mad.
and you'd
funny,
be
innit?
like,
Yeah.
"Ah, this is my conference.
Yeah.
I want to be on fire." But then the thing is, why you come in conference if you don't want to love people?
Yeah.
Why come conference and you can't care for people and you can't love people? And so let's put this video up. James, can you get that camera, yeah, and see if you can see this? Look at these two guys here.
No.
Oh my days! Look at these two guys.
That's my impersonation of Owen. Look at Roger, Owen, the big man.
Hey, how did you get these guys on it? Hey, what's yours, man? How did you get them on Impact Team, man? Hey, I said that he had to call you guys because you guys are still in bed.
You can't get the timepiece on.
It's embarrassing. You don't have to fly up
Amen, amen.
You get me? We're here. That's what matters.
Amen.
It's crazy.
So that's
No beard.
you think it was that's Owen that got you guys there. I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna get those guys there. Owen was the one. I was like, Owen, I don't think we can't get those guys there. They're not ready yet. I was like, no, Pastor, we'll get them there.
Yeah.
First Impact scene.